In the year 536 AD, people around the world looked up and saw something terrifying. The sun was still there, but its light was weak and ghostly, as if a veil had been pulled across the sky. Ancient writers described the sun as bluish and without brightness. Days felt like long, dim twilights, and even at noon, the light never became fully strong or warm. This strange pale sun did not last for just a few hours or days. In some regions, the dimness continued for about 18 months, plunging entire societies into confusion and fear. Temperatures dropped across the Northern Hemisphere, harvests failed, frosts came at strange times, and farmers who had followed the seasons for generations no longer knew when to plant or reap. In parts of Europe and Asia, people reported that snow fell in summer, and that crops withered before they could be gathered. Hunger began to stalk cities and villages alike. Chroniclers in the Eastern Roman Empire, in Ireland, and in China all noticed that something was wrong with the sky. Their writings, separated by vast distances, described the same eerie darkness. For centuries, no one understood what had happened. To those living at the time, it felt like a curse from the heavens, a sign of divine anger, or the beginning of the end of the world. Modern science, however, offers a different explanation. Today, many researchers believe that the dim sun was caused by a massive volcanic eruption or even a sequence of eruptions. When a giant volcano erupts, it can blast enormous amounts of ash and sulfur into the upper atmosphere. These particles spread around the globe, reflecting sunlight back into space and cooling the Earth's surface. Ice cores drilled from Greenland and Antarctica preserve tiny chemical traces of such eruptions. In layers dated to the mid-6th century, scientists have found clear evidence of powerful volcanic activity. These icy archives confirm that something huge happened around 536 AD. The eruption, or eruptions, were strong enough to affect the climate of the entire planet for years. The result was what some historians call a volcanic winter. Skies grew hazy, temperatures dropped, and the normal rhythm of seasons was thrown off balance. This sudden cooling struck societies that were already fragile. In many places, political tensions and economic strains were building long before the sky went dark. In the Eastern Roman Empire, also known as Byzantium, the government struggled with wars, rising taxes, and unrest. The failed harvests made all of these problems worse. In other regions, like parts of Northern Europe and Central Asia, food shortages may have triggered migrations, conflicts, and power struggles as communities competed for scarce resources. Soon after 536, another disaster struck: the outbreak of what would later be called the Justinian Plague. This pandemic spread along trade routes, killing large portions of the population. Some researchers think the weakened climate and poor harvests helped the plague spread more easily, as hungry and stressed communities were more vulnerable to disease. The combination of volcanic winter, famine, and plague turned the mid-6th century into one of the most difficult periods in recorded history, a turning point for many societies. The effects were not identical everywhere. Some regions recovered more quickly, while others entered long periods of decline, transformation, or political collapse. In the long run, these crises helped reshape the map of power. Old structures crumbled, and new kingdoms and cultures began to rise in the aftermath of the chaos. What makes 536 AD so haunting is that people at the time had no way to see the hidden cause. To them, the skies simply dimmed, the weather changed, and the world became harsher and less predictable. Today, by combining ancient texts with modern climate science, we can finally connect their fear and confusion to natural events happening far beyond the horizon of their understanding. The story of the year, "The Sky Went Dark," reminds us that human history is deeply tied to the forces of nature. A single eruption can ripple through economies, politics, and everyday life. For generations, it also invites us to look at our own world with new eyes. We, too, live in a global system shaped by climate, trade, and disease, vulnerable to sudden shocks from both nature and ourselves. And just like the people of 536 AD, we may not always notice the first signs of change, but by studying their experience, we gain a clearer sense of how fragile and how resilient our civilizations can be.